What's good, everybody? I'm BPC and welcome to Competitive Origins MMA. Well, Jon Jones sat down with Steve-O for a pretty lengthy interview. Now, this interview was actually recorded back in 2020 and a clip of the video has been repurposed and put back online. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because this clip is actually pretty relevant to what's going on with Jon Jones's current situation. And I thought it was pretty interesting, and I felt like it gave you a more deeper impacted side, or I would say a more revealing side of Jon Jones. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and share this story with you. Now, in regards to Jon Jones, you know, he was with Steve-O. They were inside this van of some sort. And basically, there was a whole bunch of different topics that were discussed. Now, one of them Jon Jones had put out there was that Dana White does not like him. And he feels like the UFC has a monopoly over the whole situation. And basically, he would like to bring his services to other promotions that he does feel have the same type of financial backing that the UFC does, because he would definitely be a great asset for them. Now, that's pretty interesting, you know, but at the end of the day, I can't quite see the UFC deciding to release Jon Jones. I think they'd be more willing to just let him sit on the side and never fight again than they would be willing to just give him up to another organization. But yes, there are different organizations out there that do have the financial backing to really shell out the cash. The problem is typically they don't do that, but maybe for Jon Jones, they would open up the paycheck. Now, he was also talking about being very vocal about fighter pay. You know, he stated that he knows several different individuals that are not really making the money that they should be making. And yes, he's a multimillionaire at the end of the day, but you know, and he wants to get his. He knows it sounds bad from his part asking for more money because he's a millionaire, but he only wants what's right and what's fair. But he's also doing it, he says, for the other individuals that aren't making the money, that basically have to live at the gym because they can't afford to live on their own and stuff. And basically he said he wouldn't mind actually sitting out 2 to 3 years to get his point across. Now, 2 to 3 years is quite some time. I'm pretty sure that after subscribing and hitting the notification bell to Competitive Origins MMA, you know, after maybe a month or so of watching all the great content, he probably would come back out of retirement and be rejuvenated to fight again. That's just what I suspect. But don't forget to hit the like button on this video and be sure to subscribe and click the notification button. Now, Steve-O pointed out that Jon Jones looked beatable in his last 2 fights. If you recall, he faced off against Dominic Reyes, in which a lot of people did feel like Dominic Reyes won that fight. And then I believe he won a split decision against Thiago Santos. So, you know, those were 2 fights right there where, you know, there was, you know, who really won the fight. You know, Jon Jones obviously came out on top, but a lot of people felt he was beatable, and, you know, what would happen next with him and Jan Blachowicz, you know, or a rematch with Dominic Reyes. You know, there's all those options out there, and Jon basically passed on it to go up to heavyweight. Now, in regards to, you know, the whole situation, you know, Jon actually looked bothered when Steve-O made that statement. And they noticed that, and I noticed it too. And basically they asked him, well, what was that reaction from you? And he basically said, you know, it was just a bad day at the job. And I think we've all had the bad days at the job. You know, nobody is perfect on every single day. You know, at least he got the win, which was the end result, but he did not look good. But there's been other fights where Jon Jones didn't look great in a lot of his fights. You know, like the OSP fight, you thought he would have had a much better performance in that fight, and it just wasn't there. Now, he did get the victory without a shadow of a doubt, but it just didn't look like, wow, this is you know, the best fighter in the light heavyweight division. Now, Jon talked about how he's more beatable at heavyweight, and the reason why is because the fighters, they just hit a lot harder. You know, it's a much more easier chance of getting knocked out. And he stated like facing off against somebody like Francis Ngannou, you know, you have to be real with yourself and understand that, you know, the worst case scenario is that you get knocked out. You know, he threw an expletive in there, but, you know, we'll just keep it PG right now. You'll get knocked out, or he fractures your face. You know, and that once you're at peace with that, you know, you just go out there and realize that, you know, you're smart, you're fast, you know, you have a good chin, you have good head movement, and you have the wrestling skills. Now, he stated that he wants to go out there and face the biggest, baddest dude, whether that's Francis Ngannou, whether that's Stipe Miocic, or even DC. Now, Francis Ngannou did get the victory over Stipe Miocic, but he still put Francis in there, with Stipe, with DC. So obviously he thinks that these are probably the best individuals in the heavyweight division. So maybe, you know, he could face off against Francis, but maybe he still wants that Stipe fight. And apparently he's still interested in facing off against DC. Now, he said that he's ready to go for it and he wants to risk it all in his last couple of matches. Now, I don't think Jon Jones is getting ready to leave anytime soon. He's still quite young. But, you know, when you think about that whole DC statement, you know, DC has come out recently and stated he made the mistake. He says Izzy, you know, needs to not make that mistake where he fights Jon Jones on his own terms. And DC felt like he made that mistake by continuing to fight Jones at light heavyweight rather than fighting him at heavyweight. Now, Jon Jones is on record stating he didn't want to give DC an advantage by fighting him at heavyweight. So now it seems like Jon Jones is ready for that. But now it's like, all right, well, back then Jon Jones had the height advantage, he had the reach advantage, he had a lot of different advantages, and that basically gave him the advantage over usually getting the victory over DC. You know, now them going up to heavyweight, you know, Jon apparently weighs more than DC at heavyweight. So now he'll have the weight advantage, he'll have the height advantage, he'll just have all the advantages. So go into the comment section below and let me know what you think a fight between him and DC would look like. Also, it could be quite late now because DC is getting up there in age, and as Khabib has stated, you know, Khabib's retirement, you know, he's still training, while DC's retirement is a little bit more luxurious, if you know what I mean. Do you think DC would still have it? And he's also stated that ever since, you know, he's had that, I believe, back surgery, he's never been quite the same. So would it even make sense for DC to come out of retirement to face Jon Jones? It would definitely be a payday, you know, but would he want to do that, you know, at the end of the day? And Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. What do you guys think about a fight like that? You know, that would definitely be pretty interesting, you know. I'd be looking forward to that. And then there's the Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones, which I've already talked about on numerous occasions. Be sure to check out all the other videos I talked about. Even the last video that I just posted was about Jon Jones and $8 to $10 million not being enough to face off against Francis Ngannou. I'll put that link in the description below if you want to check out this video. And there's a whole bunch of other videos on the channel you guys should definitely check out. Go to competitiveorigins.com, type in promo code MMA118 so you can get this Competitive Origins Whatever It Takes t-shirt. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. I'm BPC, and remember, you've been competing since conception. Whether you're competing against yourself or others, Competitive Origins.